Officer Brett Robinson is suing 23-year-old student Anissa Davis for filing a false complaint with his department. Anissa is countersuing for emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
Yeah, this is case number 85 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Davis. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
You are a police officer, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where are you a police officer?
Los Angeles Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
19 years.
According to what I've read, you gave the defendant a traffic ticket, and that traffic ticket was for speeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the speed that she was traveling, and what was the zone?
She was traveling 58 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone.
Your complaint states that subsequent to giving her a ticket, she wrote a letter, or a series of letters, one to your captain, one to the chief, complaining about the treatment she received from you. And as a result of those letters, there was an investigation, and while there was a finding of no fault, I assume, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor. Those
letters will remain in your file, and you want to be compensated because you said everything that she said about you was a lie.
That's true.
So first I have to find out from Ms. Davis, I'd like to see from you a copy of the letter that you sent to Officer Robinson's superiors. Now, can you also please identify who your witnesses are?
I am my father, James Davis, and my mother, Winnie Davis.
Okay. And neither of them were present during the course of this
No, they weren't.
incident. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And your father, from what I gather from your answer, as well as from Officer Robinson's complaint, is a retired police officer. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Davis, I would like you to start from the beginning.
Okay.
The very beginning.
Your Honor,
and tell me what happened when Officer Robinson stopped you.
Well, I would like to start off by saying that it has nothing to do with the actual citation. I wrote the letter about expressing my feelings to the police department about the way that I was treated and how I felt.
Why don't you just answer my question? I asked you to tell me what happened from the moment that he pulled you over for speeding.
Okay. Good. He pulled me over and he told me that I was allegedly going too fast.
Pulled you over,
Mm-hmm.
and he said to you, what were his words?
I don't remember his exact
What
words.
did you say to him?
Hello. I rolled down my window. He asked for my license and registration.
Did you have your license?
Yes, I did.
Did you have your registration?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So he took the license, and what did he do with it?
He proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for, and he went back to his car.
No, I don't want you to tell me he proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for. He said something to you. I stopped you for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. What did he say to you, Miss Davis?
I'm sorry, I'm just very nervous.
Well, get unnervous. Did he say to you, I'm giving you a ticket because you were speeding?
Yes.
Fine. And what did you say to him?
I asked him if he knew my father.
And what did he say to you?
He said he knew exactly who my father was.
You said to him, do you know who my father is? And he must have said to you, who's your father?
Yes.
And you said?
Jim Davis.
And he said, I know exactly who your father is.
He said, yes, he's a retired police officer. Yes, he did. That's what
No,
he said.
what did he say to you? Did he say, I know he's a retired police officer, or did he say, I know exactly who your father is?
He's a retired police officer. I know exactly who he is.
Fine. And then what did he do?
He went back to his motorcycle to continue writing my ticket.
And what did you do?
I looked for my insurance.
Did you find it?
Yes.
And did you, at some point, get out of the car?
Yes.
Was it before or after you found your insurance?
Probably during. I made a phone call on my cell phone.
Who did you make a phone call to?
To my father.
What for?
Because I was nervous about the way I was being treated.
So far you have been treated perfectly.
Yeah, but...
So far you have been treated perfectly, professionally and perfectly. So what did you call your father for?
Because I wanted to ask him a question.
What question did you want to ask him?
About my insurance, because I had just gotten a new insurance card because my car had been broken into, so I called...
Perfectly reasonable. So when you got your father on the phone, what did you say to him?
I told him that I had just been stopped by a police officer for speeding, and he said, can I talk to the officer? So at that point, with the insurance in my hand, I got out of the car, and I went up to him, and I asked him if I could ask him something. And he put his hand up in my face.
No, you didn't say that to him at all. Don't give me baloney. You said, my father wants to talk to you.
No, I said, can my father talk to you? Can I?
Right, that's exactly what you said. Can my father talk to you? Don't leave that out. And he put his hand up in your face and said what?
He said, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to anybody. Go to your car. He didn't want to discuss anything further with me.
Sounds perfectly right to me. Doesn't it sound perfectly right to you, former retired police officer Davis? That requires a simple yes or no. Is anything
Yes,
that your
ma'am.
daughter said to you sound untoward on the part of this officer?
She's left a couple of things out.
No, you weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
You weren't there. So if you were me, and you've been around the ballpark a little bit, if you were me listening to your daughter right now, would you find anything untoward in this police officer's conduct?
Only the part about he didn't want to talk to her and go have a seat in the car.
No. What she said was she wanted him to talk to you. And you were going to try to talk him out of giving your daughter a ticket.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Absolutely, positively, 100%. As I'm sitting here and he's standing there.
Not anymore.
Speak. Listen to me. Speak not. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason for you to have.
May I say something?
Called. Say nothing, sir. Don't embarrass yourself.
I won't.
You will. Believe me, you will. You will embarrass yourself because that is exactly what happened. She called you on the phone and she said, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. And you said, let me speak to the guy. That's what your daughter told me.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what your daughter just told me. You mean she's lying? She said to me, my father said, let me talk to him. And I got out of the car holding my insurance card in my hand with the phone. And she walked over to him and said to him, my father wants to talk to you. And he put up his hand and he said, I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want to talk to your father. That's what she just told me. I didn't make that up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson says after giving Anissa Davis a speeding ticket, she filed a false complaint with his department.
Go ahead.
She left out part of the phone conversation, which I was privileged to. Where she asked me, she told me she got stopped for speeding. And I asked her, I said, did he use a radar? Did he follow you? Did he estimate your speed? What did he do? And she said, I don't know. And I said, get out of the car and ask him. She came back 2 seconds later and said, he said it was not radar. And I said, fine. And she said, would you like to talk to him? And I said, if he'll talk to me, I'll talk to him.
Listen to me, sir. Those are questions that are left for a court. You know that, and I know that. The way to fight a ticket is to go to a hearing and ask just the questions that you wanted her to ask this officer when he was giving her a ticket. He is under no obligation whatsoever to provide that information. And you know that as a former police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, he did nothing untoward. Nothing. And she had no right to write a letter. None. Now you may be seated. Now I'm going to ask you some other things. Who wrote the letter?
I did. Your
With
Honor.
whose help?
With my mother and father.
Right.
But I wrote the letter with my thoughts and my ideas.
Your
My
thoughts and your
feelings.
ideas. Listen to me. I want you to understand something. I've been around the ballpark a long time. How did I know that you did not write this letter by yourself?
I'm an educated college student. I don't know why
Well,
why I wouldn't be able to
Because
write this
I could
letter.
tell that you didn't write it yourself. That's how. Come. I could tell you didn't write it yourself. It may have been your thoughts or your ideas, but the words weren't all yours. So that comes out of vindictiveness. He was annoyed that this officer gave his daughter a ticket and would not get on the phone with him because, after all, he should have done it as a courtesy. And he didn't.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's true.
I
It's
did-
absolutely true. And you did the wrong thing because you were a spoiled brat driving a little bit too fast and you got stopped, and your father, I don't know if he's ever gotten you out of difficulty before, but you figured, while I'm looking for my insurance card, I'm going to call my father. There was no reason for that because you had the insurance card in your hand. You had any questions for your father, you ask him the questions after you get the ticket when you get home. There was no reason to call him then. Absolutely none. So you know why you called your father. I know why you called your father. He knows why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit. that you got no more of a favor than anybody else that he might have stopped.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist. He doesn't have to talk to you. He's giving you a ticket.
To someone who's a police officer, who I look up to, who is on duty
Please.
in uniform.
Please.
Someone who I look up to and I respect, and who doesn't want to even talk to me after that whole incident.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He doesn't want to be pressured. And before you got out of the car with your cell phone, with your father on the line, he said nothing untoward to you, according to you, and even according to your father. It wasn't until after you made the phone call, according to you, that he put his hand up in your face and refused to talk to you. And he doesn't have to talk to you. That's what you go to therapy for. His responsibility is to give you a ticket, to say quiet, and to say license, registration. I am giving you a ticket for speeding. I'm speaking. Now you're not so nervous anymore. You're interrupting the judge. I'm giving you a ticket for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. Here is your ticket. You can respond to it. You can plead guilty. You can plead not guilty. That's it. Other than that, he has to say diddly squat to you. So he acts totally professionally. License, registration, proof of insurance. Thank you very much. Have a seat in your car. You don't like it? You go home, you pick up the phone, you call your therapist, and you say, I had a very bad day today. I need an appointment. I need to vent for an hour. You don't write a letter to his superiors. Now, my question to you, sir, is you've been very quiet. The reason I started with her first is because what's the point in listening to you? I wanted to find out what she was complaining about.
Yes, sure.
Now, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes,
I want to know what you're going to do with this $5,000 if you get it.
I really hadn't had any plans for that yet. What I wanted to ask you, or what I wanted to tell you earlier, is that what she put in the letter obviously is completely untrue, and I have proof of that. I have a tape recording of the conversation that occurred between Miss Davis and myself. What she has told her father, what she has told you, and what she has told the station is completely untrue.
Oh, I would like to hear that. You mean it's even worse?
Can I respond to
Well,
that?
Absolutely not.
So what's on the tape and what you've read in the letter is night and day.
Go ahead.
Afternoon. I'm Officer Robinson with LAPD. Three things. The first one is I got your speed here on Wilbur with a laser at 58. Speeding at 40. And then I also noticed that your left brake light is out when you step on the brakes and it's going behind you. Do you have your license with you?
Do you have a transcript?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the transcript,
Yes, you
please?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
First of all, I had no clue that he had this. This is the first time I've heard of it. And but he has control to start, stop, and alter any part of this tape.
I want to read what you say. I mean, that's your voice, right? He didn't get somebody to dub your voice.
No, I'm saying, but
Good.
he has the option as his recorder to...
Quiet. Initially, when he said, do you have your license with you? You know what you responded to him? I do, which I heard there. Oh, wow. My dad's a policeman, too, and I'm having the worst time of all.
Oh, wow.
With my finals, I don't know if this matters at all. My dad works with you. Oh, Miss Davis, do you live on Brimer? Yes. Who is your father? Sergeant Davis. He works for Valley Traffic. He's a sergeant, too. Is he a motorcycle officer? Yes, he is. What's his first name? You say Jim Davis. Officer. Yeah, your dad's retired. I know who your dad is, but he's retired. It doesn't matter whether he's working or retired. You're responsible for your own driving. You say your vehicle is registered. What year is it? It's a 95. All right. Wait. All right. He says, do you wait right here? I'll be right with you. And then you say to him, my dad wants to talk to you for a second. I'm not going to talk and handle your phone. Why don't you go ahead and wait over there by your vehicle or in your vehicle?
Can I add that he put his hand in my face and said, I'm not talking to your dad, I'm not talking to you, go to your vehicle?
I'm holding a ticket book in my left hand.
Just a second. So what?
And a pin in my
Just
right.
a minute. So.
You had your ticket book.
So, listen to me. So what?
To me, a man in uniform, someone who works for the Los Angeles Police Department, should not be putting a hand in my face.
You're a big baby.
No.
You're a big baby. I don't know how many times your father's gotten you out of scrapes before. This time, he couldn't, and you got annoyed, and so did he.
This had nothing to do with the citation.
Listen to me. Can't you get this through your head? He did nothing wrong. You did. First you were speeding, and then you tried to get out of the ticket by telling him that your father was a police officer. You did something wrong. And then when you got the ticket anyway, you wrote a letter, and your father, maybe because he has nothing better to do, and your mother, I don't know what she does, participated in authoring this letter, which is going to sit in his personnel file, and it's wrong. And you owe him an apology. So stop defending your behavior. You owe him an apology.
And I didn't write the letter for the citation. He's doing this for retaliation for personal gain. He's suing me for $5,000 because I'm expressing my feelings to the department about how he lacks.
You've been living in L.A. too long.
No, actually,
I think you ought to go live someplace else. You've been living in L.A. too long.
Actually,
now I want you to be. Now I want you to be quiet because I'm speaking. For somebody who's nervous, you talk pretty well. So I want you to be quiet. My question to you, officer, it's worse than what I thought because she tried to influence you through her father immediately on being stopped. It wasn't later on, as she has indicated, but it was immediate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What I'm asking you, Officer Robinson, is you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got a counterclaim, ridiculous counterclaim, because for $5,000, punitive damages and emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
And
she's operating in La La Land someplace.
I have copies of all of my medical and psychiatric things right here when you're...
Listen, shh. Hey, quiet. Listen to me. You were wrong. Get it through your head. Madam, you were wrong. Your counterclaim is dismissed. All I'm asking you is,
the citation.
What do you plan on doing with the $5,000? Are you planning on keeping it, or is there a charitable organization through the LAPD that you would like to donate this money to? If I give you the money, now that I've told her she is, whether she gets it or not, 150% out of line. She had no right to write the letter. He had no right to participate in writing the letter. He should have asked the same questions I did. He should have known that his daughter did the wrong thing by bringing up his name when she got stopped for a ticket. Maybe her mother doesn't understand enough to tell her that she did the wrong thing, to encourage this kind of irresponsible behavior. But I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do with the money?
Well, I think I would like to donate to the Police Memorial Foundation.
That sounds just fine. I'm entering a judgment for $5,000. But since I believe that Ms. Davis maligned the police department as well as you, $2,500 of that will go to the LAPD Memorial Foundation, $2,500 to you. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Yeah, this is case number 116 on the calendar in the matter of Hinton versus Harbor Estrada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How old are you, Mr. Hinton?
19.
What's your first name?
Sammy?
Sammy, what's your last name?
Harbor.
Sammy used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
This is her mom.
Yes, ma'am.
What you're complaining about is, while Sammy was your girlfriend, you claim to have loaned her some stereo equipment for her car.
Yes.
And you want it back.
Yes.
Sammy says you didn't loan her anything. You made her a gift of the stereo equipment for her car. And in addition, that you've been making a real pest of yourself, harassing her. You broke into her car, took back a piece of the equipment that you claim to have loaned her, an amplifier. Is that right, Sammy?
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Hinton?
No.
Did you take back an amplifier?
No, Your Honor.
Who did? Anybody you know?
I've never heard nothing about it.
Mr. Hinton, let's not play with each other. Do you have the amplifier back?
No, Your Honor.
They also say that you broke into the house,
It's not correct.
killed her goldfish, calling, sending emails, making a general pest of yourself. And they're countersuing. So tell me how it came about that you gave her this stereo equipment.
Well, we broke up May of 2002. We remained friends, and in August she came over and wanted to borrow all that equipment. We were still friends, and I had plenty of it, so I let her borrow it. And she wanted to borrow the amplifier.
Tell me what she said to you.
She said, "Can I borrow it?"
Can I borrow what? Mr. Hinton?
Can I borrow the speakers, the amplifier, 212s, 210s, and she just bought a new car. She wanted to put it in there. And she said she'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
She'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, yes. We're
Well,
still
what would
friends.
happen, Mr. Hinton, if her mother never bought her new ones?
Well, she'd eventually give it back.
You didn't have that discussion.
Well, she said her mother would buy her new ones.
That's not what you said to me, Mr. Hinton. You got to be very careful, sir. You got to get up real early in the morning. If I believed what you say, she said, can I borrow yours or can I have yours until my mother buys me my own?
She said, can I borrow yours until my mother buys me some more?
Right. Okay, let's say she said that to you.
And
Shh, listen to me. Let's say she said that to you.
all right.
Let me explain a contract
All right.
to you, Mr. Hinton. Because what you're suing on is a verbal contract. A loan. A loan has to have an offer and acceptance and some possibility, an offer, which means you offered to loan her the equipment. She accepted the offer to borrow the equipment, according to you. That's not what she's going to tell me, but according to you. And then there has to be an event that's going to happen that causes the equipment to go back. Do you understand? An event like May 2nd, June 6th, on Bird's birthday, on my birthday, on your birthday, the equipment's going to go back. In your case, what you told me is she told you that the equipment would go back to you when her mother bought her new equipment. Do you understand?
Yes.
And my question to you is, what happens if her mother never buys her new equipment? That means you never get your equipment back. Do you understand the terms of the contract, sir?
Yes, but a few months I called her back and she said she'd send it back with her mother when she came to Albuquerque. And then I waited, her mother never showed up. I called again, she gave me the same runaround. So then the third time I called, she said, if you want your stuff, come get it yourself. And she lives about 3 hours away from me. So I drive down there, I stay at a friend's house, Las Cruces, which is about 70 miles from
Past.
Shh, don't interrupt him.
which is about 70 miles from there. And I call her in the morning before she goes to school. She says, come get it at 3:30. I said, all right. I go over there. I call her house. Nobody's home. I call again after I drive around. Still nobody's there. So I go to her school.
You're putting me to sleep, you know that.
I go to her school, and I see her car there. I'm parked out there in the parking lot, and I see her grandparents. They drive up to my car saying, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. We don't want you around Sammy Joe. I say, Sammy Joe told me to come get my stuff. I'm here to get it. Then they get me saying that I stole stuff from her, CDs, tapes from a 70-year-old woman and man. I don't think I listen to that kind of music. And then I say, can you just go ask Sammy Joe if she has my stuff so I can get out of this town? They park next to a gray car. They come back, and the gray car comes circling around me, like the guys in the car throwing their hands up, yelling and wanting to fight. The grandparents are all, look, they don't want you in this town. You better leave. I said, what did Sammy Joe say? He said, your equipment's in her boyfriend's car, and you're not getting it back. Your Honor, her boyfriend don't even have a car. So at that point, I was frustrated. I went home, and I received these emails from her, some very vulgar emails, if you would like to read them.
I would certainly like to read them.
And in
Mr. Hinton, how old was Sammy when you gave her the equipment?
15.
See, that's another problem you have, Mr. Hinton, because what you are suing on in court is a contract, right?
Yes.
Because a contract can be written or it can be verbal. You didn't have a written contract. With her, it was verbal, right?
But my witness was there when she said about it.
You're not paying attention to me, sir. You're paying attention to what's going on in your own head. What we're talking about here is a verbal contract, which has the same force and effect as a written contract, right? Except you have to be 18. Because a minor can't enter into a binding contract. Now read the emails. Well, this has, although this has to do with your lack of sexual prowess, sir, this has nothing to do with the, this has absolutely nothing to do with the
And
stereo equipment. It's interesting.
This one, right?
Listen to me. It's interesting, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. So while I found it sort of salty, dear, I won't even show it to your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
there is a strong possibility that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacob Hinton says ex-girlfriend 16-year-old Sammy Jo Harper owes for the return of a car stereo. Sammy Jo says Jacob won't stop harassing her.
Now I'll read the other one. Thanks, Bird. What is this?
It's a letter my grandmother wrote.
I'm not interested in a letter that your grandmother wrote, sir.
Asking her about whether or not I let her borrow it or not. And she says, in the highlighted, she clearly writes that she's going to return it.
Talk about a PlayStation here.
Yeah, in her counterclaim, she says she bought the whole PlayStation, which she did not. In that, she says she did not.
Get with the issue, Mr. Hinton. The issue is the stereo equipment for the car. Now, Sammy, how old are you, dear?
16.
First of all, I'm going to suggest that there's a very good lesson to you. Don't put things in writing that you don't want other people to read. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have some emails to show me that he sent to you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are from one of his friends from Albuquerque.
I don't want to read emails from his friends.
Well, from him and him telling this
Just
girl.
a second. Would you return these to him? I don't have time to read a tome. If I wanted to read a good book, I would buy a good book. Get me the emails from him.
There's one in the back.
And don't aggravate me. My voice is going today. Thanks, Bird. I guess you're not going into the ministry either. You know that there are other four-letter words in the English language like love and like and...
Like?
And bike, right? Bike, right? Joke. Dumb. It's a four-letter word that comes to mind.
Hate.
Hate. No. Dumb. No. Doesn't hate. He's 19. He was 18. He was 17 when he was involved with your daughter. They have raging hormones. You know, their best friend isn't their mind.
No.
If you know what I mean.
Not by
Both of them.
I know.
Both of them. Their best friend isn't their brain. Sometimes it stays that way.
Hopefully not.
All right, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Mr. Hinton, you gave her the stereo equipment. Get over it. Stop crying. Stop fetching. Now, what proof do you have that he broke into your house and your harassment, the emails that you're talking about, the emails that he wrote to?
Yeah.
You ought to read hers.
I have. Yes.
Well, so stop. I don't want any fetching about the emails. I want to know what proof that you have that he broke into your house.
During the time that we were together, which is approximately 2 years, he was over at my house a lot, and I have 2 dogs, and they don't let strangers into our yard and our house area. And we had just moved here, and they're not going to let anybody they don't know into our yard. And they broke into my room specifically, and he's the only one that had been in my house and knows what room.
That's not proof good enough for a court.
Ma'am,
Unless your mother has some other proof.
the neighbor across the street saw a vehicle.
Be more than
like
happy to
his.
hear the neighbor.
Well, this isn't the neighbor. This is the boy that was there that she was a witness to when he gave her the equipment, but...
I need a witness.
Okay.
Not you telling me what a witness is going to tell me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have any proof?
An email where he admitted stealing the CDs out of the car.
That if he admitted...
Go get it.
So shut. Hey, if you have an email where he acknowledges that he stole property out of her car, I will read it.
We didn't bring it, but we do have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you had the email, I would read it.
Okay.
That's a confession. It's a
Yes,
written
ma'am.
confession. And then I would show it to him.
Okay.
Confront him with it. Anything else?
Well, we're countersuing for the harassment, too. Not only did...
What harassment?
calling, coming by. We asked him not to call our house. He threatened her. He broke into my house, which you say I can't prove. That's fine. He claimed his grandmother, which you have that email, said that he says my son let him into our house at that date. My son was gone to a barrel race with me.
I never said that.
Listen to me. Let's get over it. When was the last contact your daughter had with him?
The day that he took me up into the
kidnapped
mountains
her.
when we had gone.
Give me the date.
It was before I had gotten the speaker equipment. And he had given me the speaker equipment as...
That's a witness.
Give me the date.
It's September.
September of '02.
About there, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the last
That's after I gave you the... That's after I said I gave it to her in August.
It was August or September.
I'm asking you
Wow,
a question. The last contact you had with him was in September of 2002?
August.
Except for when he came
his
to our
grandmother.
house.
When was that?
He came in February to...
February of '03.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
went to her house.
Shh. Hey,
He came in February of '03.
since then, has he contacted you?
He calls and hangs up.
You can't prove that.
Caller ID.
Then I think that you should file a police report.
They told me to at our local county.
Well,
They
then that's
wanted
what you
me
ought to
to
do.
throw him
File
in
a police
jail.
report because that's aggravated harassment
Yes,
if he's
ma'am.
doing it. You have him arrested for that. Good.
Yes,
That's what
ma'am.
you ought to do. But other than that, he hasn't come around. Is that right? Since February?
No, ma'am,
Good.
until we got
Perfect.
this notice.
Perfect. Mr. Hinton, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility, that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated. Now, I know that 19 sounds like, you still got years to go before you develop. But in the eyes of the law, you're a grown-up. And this kind of kid stuff is not kid stuff anymore. Calling, hanging up, having somebody else call, hang up, sending stupid emails that may not be threatening, but just put your hand down, madam. It's all stupid because it can get you into trouble. It's over with Sammy Joe. The love affair is over. She doesn't want to have any part of you anymore. The only part that she wants to have of you is the stereo equipment that you let her borrow until her mother got her new stuff. By the way, did you ever get her new stereo equipment?
No, ma'am.
Well, then the eventuality, even if she could make a contract, never came to pass. So I'm going to suggest that you devote your time to going to school, maybe take a business course in contracts. But leave her alone. Now, Semi,
Yes.
sometimes young girls, even though they don't want to have anything to do with exes anymore, like to feel as if they still have their attention. That better not be so in this case, because if you write them, call them, contact them, tell a friend you'd like to see him, whatever it is, it's not very smart. You let Mr. Hinton and his hormones grow up. You got it? Now, it's been many months since there has been contact between the two of you. The longer that goes, the better off you both are. So you have February, March, April, May, June, July. Months. It's over. You have a new girlfriend?
No.
Listen, Mr. Hinton,
What?
find one. What are you doing with your life?
Nothing.
You go to school
Yes, Your Honor.
5 days a week?
2.
For what?
Medical school.
You go to medical school 2 days a week? In what country? I want to stay away from that country. What kind of medical school do you go to 2 days a week, sir?
TVI.
What are they teaching you to do?
Be a radiology technician.
That's good. That's not medical school, by the way. You're learning to be a radiology technician. Why only 2 days a week?
That's full time.
Do you live at home?
Yes.
Why aren't you working?
I haven't found a job.
What?
I haven't found a job.
How hard are you looking?
Not really hard.
You still in school?
I just graduated.
And what are you doing?
I start college in Las Cruces in August.
Good. say goodbye to each other. Hopefully you're not going to see each other again. Right? Good. Don't email him. Don't call him. Don't contact him. Sir, forget her number. You got it?
It's already forgotten, Your Honor.
Good. And if you're smart, you change your number. You don't want him to call. Change your number. You run a business out of the house?
No, ma'am.
Good. Change your number. Bye.
Professional cameraman William Spadero wants one-time date beautician Ann Smith to pay medical bills for a bitten finger. Ann is countersuing, claiming she was raped.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the calendar in the matter of Spadaro versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, the complaint and the answer in this case that I have is rather lengthy. So let me see if I understand the gist of it. You, sir, met the defendant in a nail salon where I assume you work?
Hair salon.
Hair salon. And you dated a couple of times.
Correct.
On one of those dates, you borrowed his jacket. Is that right?
Correct, but there was no dating.
Where did you borrow his jacket? Where were you when you borrowed his jacket?
At his house.
You were just there for what?
Visiting, then leaving. We had lunch.
Okay, you didn't think of it as dating?
No.
Did you think of it as dating?
Yes.
A date is when you make an arrangement with a woman and then you come to pick her up as a gentleman would.
That's if you were in 1969 or 1972, in 1998. I don't know if you go pick up ladies anymore. My children tell me that you make arrangements to meet someplace.
Correct.
So that nobody has to be inconvenienced.
Correct.
In any event, you were at the house, you borrowed his jacket, you took it home. There came a time he wanted his jacket back. You decided to go to the house to return his jacket.
Correct.
Then you claim you were assaulted. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yes, Your Honor. I was expecting to get the jacket back. She says, yes, I'll bring it back. So she came over to the house, and I was watching TV at the time. She says, why don't you turn off the television? So I said, well, I really like this show. And so she said, no, just turn it off. So we turned off the TV. I had a feeling she wanted to become a little more amorous. I said, okay, because I can't remember if at that point in time she had presented the jacket. I don't think at that point in time she had. I think she said she was going to bring the jacket. She didn't have the jacket with her then. So I wanted to try to appease matters, and we got into a little more of a physical situation. We ended up becoming intimate, and during, or immediately after the intimacy,
No, I said no.
she had
I'm going to
said-
give you your chance to tell me your story. Go ahead.
She had said, is there any way we can, develop more of a relationship? And I said, I really don't think that we're compatible enough to work on a relationship. We've been out a couple times, and I really don't feel any chemistry. So at this point in time, she left my bed, and at the bottom of the bed, she said, I'm not a whore. And I said, I never said you were. She said, if I yelled rape right now, there's nothing you could do about it. I said, you're absolutely correct. There's nothing I could do about it. So at this point in time, she walked into my bathroom, and she started screaming rape. I mean, to the top of her lungs. I mean, she's screaming it. And I'm just beside myself. I go, what do I do with this? So adjacent to my bathroom is my second bedroom. So I go into my second bedroom, and I call the operator. I said, could you give me the phone number of the North Hollywood Police Department? She said, what do you need? And I said, do you hear this in the background? And she's screaming rape. So she gives me the number, and I call North Hollywood Police Department. I said, get a car over here. This lady is irate. I don't know what's going to happen here. Please send somebody. So at this point in time, she'd left the bathroom, and she had walked into my living room. And she was calm. She'd sat down on my couch for a while, and then she got up, and she started screaming rape again. And I said, just a matter of time. I go, why don't you just calm down? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you leave? I'm going to give you the freedom to leave. She goes, you didn't call the police. I said, yes, I did. They're going to be here momentarily. At that point in time, she picked up this statue and was going to throw it. Now, I've got a widescreen television, and adjacent to the widescreen television, I've got a grandfather clock. And I was afraid of something happening to that. So I grab this, and I set this down on the table, and she swings at me. So I grab her hands. I said, there's only going to be a couple minutes, before the cops are going to be here. I know I'll be okay. So I'm struggling with her, and I bring her down to the ground. We're in front of my front window. I'm holding her hands.
because I know the officers are going to be here. We'll get this thing resolved. And she says, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So it was either just prior to that or after I released the grip on her hands, she reached over and bit my hand. And I mean, it was enough. I couldn't get my hand away. And then she let go. Then I noticed at the front window the officers, and they said, stand up and put your hands up. So I stand up and I put up my hands, open up the front door. He grabs me and he cuffs me on my porch. 2 female officers walk into the house to sit with the defendant. So I'm standing out on the porch and they're asking me what happened. And I ran down the situation, and the female officer comes out and says, you know, she wants to have you arrested. Do you want to have her arrested? And I said, no, I just want her out of my house. That's all I ever wanted, was just to have her out of my house. And she goes, okay, I'll go back in and see what happens. So they're in probably another 10 minutes, and then they all walk out. And at this point in time, the officer takes the cuffs off me. But prior to that, the one officer said, she's been drinking, and she needs to have a ride home. Can she call somebody? And I said, yes. And that's accounting now for the variability in her actions. I mean, she was real mellow when she first got to my house and then became extremely irate. And they asked me, had you been drinking? And I said, no, I haven't had anything to drink. So she called someone to come and get her.
Is that the assault, sir?
Correct.
The assault was when she bit you?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever get your jacket back?
Yes, I did.
How?
I called a friend of mine who's an attorney. He says, appease her. He says, call her and see if you can get your jacket back. So I called her and she starts screaming to me on the phone. She hangs up. A couple minutes later, she calls me again. She goes, were you the one that just called me?
Back before that.
And I said, yes. You know, I'm the one that just called you. She said, okay. She goes, so we start talking. I said, why don't we just mellow this out? Why don't you just bring me my jacket? And we'll work this out. So she did eventually.
What kind of jacket was this, sir, that was worth?
Little flimsy jacket.
That was worth, you were making another phone call to her.
It was the last jacket I had from a company that I've been with for 20 years.
What do you mean? Was it a specialty jacket?
Yeah. I mean, it had the logo on the back of the jacket, and I wanted that jacket. It was important. It was the very last item that I had received from that company.
You were almost arrested and incarcerated, sir, because of something that she said. It would seem to me if you used your brains, you would say, I must have a picture of myself in that jacket. That's going to suffice. In any event, that's what you're talking about, the bite to your hand. Do you have medical records?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. May I approach?
No.
Oh,
okay. What was the date of this incident, sir?
December 20th. I had let a couple days go by, and I called a physician friend and said, could you take a look at my hand? It's been bleeding, and it's getting enlarged.
Bit it yourself.
Shh.
And he says, where were you bitten? I said, on my hand. He
Don't
said,
tell me what your friend said.
Okay, I want you to get to emergency.
All right, so you got to emergency. I see, 6 days later.
He said I could lose my hand. That's why I went down.
I'm not interested in what he told you. That's hearsay.
Physician.
So?
That's
you have a bill. That's important.
Correct.
The bill is important. What somebody said to you outside of court is not relevant and inadmissible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here.
You don't have to go. I understand.
And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 40-year-old cameraman William Spadero is suing for medical bills, claiming 37-year-old Ann Smith bit him. Ann says he forced himself on her, and she was defending herself.
Now, Miss Smith, he's told me his story. Why don't you tell me your version of it?
I went over to return his jacket December the 20th. Must have been approximately 8:30. And when I went in, I don't remember if he was watching TV or not, but he immediately stood up to be friendly and cordial to me. And he had the fireplace going, and we started talking. I don't remember whether he turned off the television or not. The point was that we ended up getting a little bit friendlier than we should have, and then I said no. And he went ahead.
What do you mean he got?
When I, you know, being intimate, hugging and kissing or whatever. And then I said, no, I don't want to have sex with you. And he decided that he was so excited he would just do it anyway. And after he was done, I said, you know, you didn't use a condom, you didn't anything. And so And I was in tears. I started crying. And then he says, no, this is it. This is it. You have to leave right now. Immediately, you have to leave. And I said, I want to go to the restroom and I want to clean myself because, I could be pregnant or anything. I want to go to the bathroom and I want to clean myself up so I can leave as a dignified woman. And he said, no, you're not. You're leaving right now. He grabbed my shoulder as I went into the bathroom, very firmly placing it on my shoulder and trying to pull me out of his bathroom, treating me as though, I was, some kind of dog. Just throw me right out. Do whatever you want and throw me right out. Then he goes to the back room. He says, no, you're leaving right now. And he goes back and he picks up the telephone. And I don't know who he was calling, but he said he's calling the police. And I thought, how can he do this? I mean, how can he do something like this to a woman? Then now he's going to call the police on her after he's done that to her? So I started screaming rape. Because when a woman says no, that means no.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that you didn't start to yell rape until after he got on the phone.
He called the police.
Until after he got on the phone. Well,
right.
What were you yelling rape for?
Well, because he's playing games with me. He won't let me clean up so that I can leave his house, and yet he wants to call the police on me.
But I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
No, what you did doesn't make sense. First of all, I read your answer. Your answer said you were on your way out for an evening with your boyfriend, and you decided to go over that evening beforehand and return his jacket.
Yes.
And that was about 8:30.
Right.
And what time are you supposed to meet your boyfriend?
10:30.
So you left yourself 2 hours.
Right.
And you got there, and according to you...
Because we were friends, somewhat. Excuse me.
According to you, there was some hugging, some kissing, some fondling, some whatever. Right? I mean, you're there to return a jacket.
Right.
At this point, I don't hear anything about no rape, anything else. What bothered me about your response here...
But I said no.
What bothered me, that's what you say now. What bothered me about the response and and what you say to me now is that I can understand that if that's what happened to you, going into the bathroom and starting to scream rape so that you can get help or trying to get out as soon as you can, that I absolutely understand.
He was trying to...
But you just told me that you were angry because he wouldn't let you go into the bathroom and clean up.
He wouldn't even let me clean myself up after he did that to me.
Something doesn't sound right, Miss Smith. It just doesn't make sense to me. The conversation that he says that took place... Pay careful attention to my question. The conversation about possible future relationship you say never took place when you were lying in bed, that conversation...
We weren't lying in bed together. It wasn't like that. It wasn't, it wasn't like that. We weren't laying there having some torrid affair. It wasn't like that.
How did you get in from, how many rooms do you have,
His
sir?
bed stands up about this high.
What?
We're leaning.
2 bedrooms.
You have 2 bedrooms.
Correct.
So you came in, fireplace. Where's the fireplace?
In the living room.
In the living room. All right. Would you explain to me how you got from the living room into the bedroom?
We walked in there together.
What did you think you were going into the bedroom for?
He was showing me something on the wall. He has pictures on the wall. He has certificates on the wall.
So you were... Now, where were you... Just a sec. Hey! You're making this up as you're going along.
No, I'm not making this up.
Sure you are. Sure you are. I mean, nothing is worse than a woman being sexually abused. A woman says no, it's no.
That's right.
Woman says no, it's no. But I'm not convinced, madam, that you're telling me the truth. Because if you're going in to return somebody's jacket... You return the jacket, here's your jacket, I'm going to meet my boyfriend. You end up in the bedroom looking at etchings, right? Then you have a problem. Then I begin to question everything that you're telling me because even according to you, you ended up in the bedroom. Where were you doing the hugging and kissing and smooching?
In the living room.
And then right in the middle of the hugging and kissing and smooching, he said, I'd like to show you my etchings in the bedroom.
It's time to slow down.
Just a second. Then he said, I want to show you my etchings in the bedroom. And so you decided to go. Were you dressed or undressed when you went into the bedroom?
Dressed.
Fully dressed?
Mostly dressed.
Oh, give me a break.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. William Spadero says Ann Smith bit him. She says she was raped.
You spoke to the district attorney in this case. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And did you indicate to them that you wish to press charges in this case?
I decided to drop it.
Any particular reason?
Yeah, I'm not going to go through 2 years of court fighting over something like this.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The district attorney told me she had no
Don't
case.
tell me what the district attorney said. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Because, is it Spadaro?
Spadaro, correct.
Mr. Spadaro, you don't get any awards for gallantry, sir. Because according to your complaint, which I read, and quite frankly, as a woman, I wasn't too thrilled with, you said you really weren't interested in a relationship with this lady even before she came to return your jacket. But as long as she was there, you gave it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded. It's not what you said, but that's pretty much what I read between the lines, right?
Correct.
And then you gave it a shot, and assuming that everything you're telling me is accurate, that you are lying in bed and she says to you, listen, we're going to be going out or we're going to have a relationship. And at that moment, you decide to tell her, I don't think we're compatible. That doesn't sit too well with a woman.
I told her prior to that.
Well, if you told her prior to that, sir, then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here.
You don't have to go. I understand.
And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
She didn't bring the jacket at that time.
Then you say, go get my jacket and come back when you have it. Do you understand, Mr. Spadaro?
Correct.
Instead of saying, well, I have nothing to do between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30, so, either I can have a bite to eat or I can, bed down Miss Smith. Not smart, not nice, not chivalrous, In any event, you can't bite him, Miss Smith. And you did bite him.
On top of me.
And you did bite him,
You didn't
madam.
let me finish telling you.
He was on top of you and what?
After he'd finished calling the police,
Uh-huh.
that's when he grabbed me and he said, you're not going anywhere. You're crazy. I'm going to make sure that they take you and put you away. He grabbed me and then he threw me down and he forcibly sat on top of my chest,
And
holding both of my arms.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
You wanted to leave? Well,
Yes,
he wanted you to leave.
I wanted to leave,
Just a minute,
too.
he says he wanted you to leave.
I wanted to leave, too.
Why didn't you let her leave?
She didn't want to leave.
No, why wouldn't he let me leave?
Did you go to the hospital that day?
I went home. My pops came back with me to get my car, and I stayed in bed for a whole week. This ruined my Christmas. My daughter didn't get a Christmas. I ended up taking psychotherapy for all this. I have the bills right here.
You have your therapy bills from before this incident?
No, I didn't take therapy before this.
Well, in any event, whether you did or whether you didn't, I'm telling you that I doubt the veracity of your story. And that's what I'm here to do. Your story doesn't make sense. It's not common sense. It's not what happened that day.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Well, it doesn't make sense for a woman to go over to somebody's house on their way to meet their boyfriend and to end up half naked, walking into their bedroom, looking at etchings, right? That doesn't make sense to me.
This is not a joke.
I'm telling you, I don't think it's a joke. That doesn't make sense to me, madam. That's what you want me to believe. You want me to believe that you were there merely to return his jacket as a friend. Right? That's what
Actually, I'm not here to have a good time. Okay. I'm not.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
In any event, your medical bills were $539, sir.
The emergency room. Then I had additional physician at the hospital.
Uh-huh.
You had somebody did the blood analysis.
Uh-huh.
Then there was a physician that met with me. He ran some HIV tests.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure all those bills are there, Your Honor. The different
Well, you got $539. You got $80.
He had bitten.
You got $80. You got $71.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I saw it all. Part of this you are responsible for, sir. You exercised very poor judgment.
That's correct.
So you have to assume at least part of the responsibility. Don't you believe you do?
Sure.
Good. So I'm giving you $200. That's all.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think it's a travesty that something like this can happen, because when a woman says no, that means no.
It wasn't a rape.
No is no.
No,
no
it
means
wasn't a
no.
rape. this girl was
Doesn't mean yes,
consensual.
dude. No.
This lady was consenting to the whole thing. That's why she had actually come over. She didn't return a jacket. She wanted to have the sex, and she wanted a relationship.
Year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Ice.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Harris, you are a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that?
I work for the city of Los Angeles.
According to your complaint, you were in the performance of your duty, working one evening, responded to a call, and arrested the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And subsequent to that arrest, which you say was relatively routine, with the exception of the fact that the defendant resisted arrest.
Correct. There was a minor altercation.
But subsequent to that arrest, he lodged a complaint against you,
Correct.
which caused a police investigation, internal affairs investigation. And tell me why you want to be compensated.
Because his complaint against me was absolutely false. He had said that I had struck him in the knee with a baton after he was handcuffed. He not only made this complaint with the police department, he sent a 2-page letter to City Councilman Joel Walk's office, which is what started the whole affair and the whole investigation. He was then later brought in to the police station by my supervisors, was advised that and signed a complaint advisory form which states that he understands that making a false allegation against a police officer, he may be arrested have charges filed against him under 148.6 of the California Penal Code.
You do not deny hitting him on the knee.
Oh, ma'am, I did not hit him on the knee at all.
You did not?
No, ma'am, he was never struck. He was taken to the ground, but he was never struck.
Okay. And that was before he had handcuffs put on him?
Correct.
And the reason he was taken to the ground is because he resisted being cuffed?
Correct.
Can I see his complaint, please? And tell me what happened to you as a result of this, Officer Harris.
Well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. It took probably several months. I was quite edgy and irritable because of this. I suffered a lot of stress at home, at work. At times when it may have been necessary to use force against somebody, I may have been a little apprehensive in using that force, which could have been detrimental to my health.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
8 years.
How many complaints have been filed against you in that 8-year period?
Civilian complaints?
Civilian complaints.
One. One
This
other
one?
than one other than
One
this.
other than this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long ago was that?
1991, ma'am.
And what was the outcome of that investigation?
I was found not guilty on all charges except for one, which was neglect of duty because I failed to properly document an incident.
And how many arrests have you made in 8 years?
Hundreds.
All right, sir. You were in a bar, you were playing pool? Listen to me carefully.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were in a bar playing pool.
I was playing pool. I was about 40 feet away. I heard a glass crash to the floor. We looked up, and there was a fist fight going on at the end of the bar, which is, I say, about 40, 50 feet away. Then 2 bikers took off quick out the door. We finished our pool game. Everybody was going crazy down at the end of the bar, so we just stayed away from it. We finished our pool game, and after that, I went and I sat down in the center of the bar I said, may I please have a bottle of Budweiser? I took 2 sips. This officer walked up behind me, said, you're under arrest. I said, for what? I haven't done anything. He didn't say anything to me. He just cuffed me and started leading me out the door. Then I repeated this several times, that I hadn't done anything. What was I under arrest for? He didn't say anything. Then I was struck. I told him that I had 16 screws in my right leg. He proceeded to hit me in the left leg with his baton, I believe it was baton, and knocked my leg out from underneath me, and I fell forward onto the cement and received 6 or 7 stitches in the chin, which my doctor removed.
Don't play with paper, sir. He doesn't deny that you had injury to your chin.
All right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. He did sustain an injury in the altercation.
And it's your testimony, sir, that at the time of this incident, you were outside. You had already been handcuffed inside the bar. That's what you say here. Is that right?
Correct.
And Officer Harris, according to your papers, sir, fortunately for you, there was people taking videos of this incident.
Yes, ma'am. The entire incident was captured by the LAPD Life on the Beat film crew who was riding with me that day.
Were you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I was.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't. But
Well, let's see it together.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside.
And later today,
I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Officer Peter Harris says Nick Ice filed a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested. Nick says Peter struck his legs with a baton for no reason, knocking him to the ground.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't.
You have it with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it.
Hang on. I got to know what's going on before I can press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
This is Nick, the owner.
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up. Come on, John.
I put my hand up to protect myself. The one turn for sunglasses.
Turn your wrist down. Turn your wrist around now.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything. For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you? You guys want to look at him, please?
For God's sakes. I was standing there, mind my own business. I didn't do a thing.
Well, first of all, Mr. Rice, I have the following comments to you, sir. From the sound of your voice on that tape, you had had more than just a few sips of beer that evening.
I hadn't had anything to drink before I came in, Your Honor, and I played 3 games of pool.
That's first. That is my impression of your slurred words. Second of all, you were clearly not handcuffed until you got outside. That's what that showed.
I made a mistake on that. Everything went so fast. I thought I was handcuffed before I was taken outside.
Mr. Rice, that's a big difference. Clearly, from watching that tape, you were escorted outside the bar. You certainly resisted having the handcuffs put on. They told you to put your hands back. You didn't. Doesn't look to me as if anybody hit you with anything. It looked to me as if Officer Harris twisted you and brought you down. Now, I don't mind looking at that tape again. You want to take a look at it again, sir?
No.
Huh? I
No,
didn't
Your
see
Honor.
any use of a baton, Mr. Rice.
The next morning, I woke up, and I couldn't even stand up. I was hitting the leg with something.
Just a second. Could we rewind that, please? I want Mr. Rice to look at it
It
again.
doesn't look like it on the tape. But
Well, you're not suggesting that Officer Harris doctored this tape, are you?
I am not, no.
press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up.
See your hands, sir? They're clear. See, he's handcuffing you now.
Protect myself. The one turn.
This looks like some fight.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved in the fight.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything.
Now look.
For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you?
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Officer Harris, you were the officer who twisted him around. Is that right? It is clear, sir, that this gentleman, in the course of effectuating an arrest, trying to get you to comply and put your hands behind your back, you didn't do that. He twisted you around and brought you to the ground. Well, what you deserved. You're supposed to comply with an officer's direction. Unfortunately, I do believe, Mr. Rice, that the problem was you'd had more than a couple of sips that evening before he got there, so your memory is a little fuzzy about what happened. Now, Officer Harris is doing something that probably a lot of police officers don't do, which is sue civilly when you make a false allegation. Your allegation was clearly false, sir. I mean, I'm reading your complaint.
I was not in a fight. I didn't do anything except play game pool.
And Mr. Rice, that's not the issue, sir. The issue is not whether or not you were the victim of a false arrest. That's a totally different issue. You were alleging police brutality.
Which is the case.
Oh, no, sir. I just looked at this tape. There was no police brutality. They may not have had probable cause to arrest you. I'm not hearing that part of the case, although I saw somebody from the bar step outside and say he assaulted the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
The owner
So clearly,
the owner retracted that statement.
whether the owner retracted that statement or not, Mr. Rice, at the time this officer came on the scene, he had a statement by a civilian where somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside, and he had a statement from somebody that you had assaulted somebody. So he had a clear responsibility at that point to arrest you. The only issue is whether, in effectuating that arrest, he acted in a brutal fashion, which is what you allege in your complaint.
But I was being arrested for something I had absolutely nothing to do with.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he had the obligation to arrest you. He had a statement from a witness that said you were involved in an assault. And that's what we have courts for, that's what we have judges for, that's what you have juries for. And it may turn out, after it's all ferreted out, that there is no basis for the further prosecution of the case. That doesn't mean that every time someone is found not guilty, the police are sued. We had a statement from a witness. Whether later they recanted it and retracted it is not the issue. Said, I made a mistake. So you did the wrong thing. And he's got to be compensated. How many times have you been arrested? Mr. Rice, did you hear my question?
I couldn't say, Your Honor.
What do you mean you couldn't say?
I've had a couple 502s.
What's a 502?
Drunking under the influence.
Right. So I would suggest, sir, that you don't handle your alcohol well. And that maybe you ought to do something about it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 31-year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
So, Officer Harris, tell me what you think you should be compensated for this, and I absolutely agree that you should be compensated.
Well, ma'am, I put down $5,000 because that is the jurisdiction of this court, and I would feel that anything that this court would be giving me in this case, I would respect any amount.
How about, Officer Harris, if I give you your $5,000, $2,500 for you and $2,500 for the Police Benevolent Fund in Los Angeles?
That sounds like a very good idea.
That's the judgment, $5,000 to be divided that way. Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hostetler versus Eaton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Tracy Hostetler is suing her former friend, 41-year-old Barbara Eaton, for stealing items from her storage space. Both will be translated by sign language interpreter Brenda Roberts.
Ms. Hostetler, according to your complaint, you shared a storage space with the defendant. It was your storage space, and you told her that she could store some of her things there for a small fee. You are claiming that she stole some things from your storage space.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you tell me, please, why you decided to share a storage space with her?
When I was sharing with my ex-boyfriend Gary, that was happening then, and so then I wanted to have my own storage space. And then a month later, her brother wanted her things out of his van because he needed to sell the van. So I offered her to help her out, to share my storage space. And I asked her to try her best to pay some rent if she was able to, but I know she didn't have any job or she wasn't on SSI.
When you went to your storage space, you found certain things missing. Was there a key or was it a combination lock to the storage space?
There was a key.
What was missing?
There was a round table, some chairs, a Dutch shelf, video camera, microwave. There's actually a lot more. I have pictures of some.
Yeah, show me the pictures of what you have. Did you confront the defendant about taking the property from your storage space?
Yes, I did. I asked if she had stolen them, and she denied it. And I do believe that she stole it because Sunday I checked my things and they were there. 2 days later, I called her to move her stuff out because my things were way in the back. And 2 days later, it was missing.
Did you take any of her things?
No, I did not.
Do you know who did take her things?
No, I do not. In fact, I had a few things of mine missing, which I don't know what all I have missing, just a few things that I know of just offhand. But
like what?
It was just old, a few old mirrors. I had big wall mirrors, and I had a butcher block knife set, and a couple of Budweiser beer mugs that were collectors.
Mm-hmm. When you found your things were missing, you asked to look in the new storage space that she had rented, according to this. Is that right?
Yes.
And none of your things were there. Is that right?
No, no. I believe it's in another place. I don't know.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Ms. Hostetler, just because she had the opportunity to take the things out of your storage space doesn't mean that you can prove to any court satisfaction that she did in fact take them out of the storage space. Do you understand? There are a lot of people that can get into those very cheap locks.
There wasn't any damage to the lock, though.
Doesn't have to be any damage to the lock. There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know what happened to your things. You're not sure of what happened to your things, so I can't enter a judgment for you. That's unfortunate. My suggestion, don't share a storage space with anybody. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I had personal things of my memories of my past, my wedding, And I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
Well, I'm sorry that she, feels that I took it, and I mean, I just hope that she can understand eventually in time that I don't have it.
Is suing 41-year-old film producer Sherry Whiten for an evening gown, car rental, and a pair of Versace sunglasses. Sherry is countersuing for lost gemstones and the cost of spa treatments.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 47 on the calendar in the matter of Cole versus Wyden. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir.
I have in your complaint that your name is Cole Chipman, also known as Kitty Cole. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you met the defendant in Aspen, Colorado, and shortly after that meeting, things happen as a result of which she owes you money and has retained some property. I have your counterclaim indicating that they owe this gentleman and this gentleman owe you money. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So why don't you tell me about that, Mr. Cole?
I met Sherry in Aspen. She came to Los Angeles shortly thereafter to see me. She came for 3 days. It ended up being 10 days. She had just moved to Scottsdale, so she asked my friend Danielle and I to go to Scottsdale like about 2 weeks later for an open house that she was having and to help her with her party. She was recently divorced, very upset, didn't know anybody, the whole bit. She offered to take us to Scottsdale, pay for our trip there. Just before we left to go to Scottsdale, she asked if we could please rent a car because her new car had just blown up, apparently, and she was renting a limousine. And the limousine was too expensive, so if we would just rent a car, she'd reimburse us. So that's $350 for that.
You were staying at her house?
Yes, as she requested. We helped her with the party. We did the party. Then, after the party,
What do you mean you did the party?
Are
you in the entertainment business?
A little bit.
What do you mean a little bit?
A little bit, meaning I'm a fundraiser. I do fundraiser for various AIDS charities as the character Kitty Cole. I ran for mayor 2 years ago of Palm Springs as a fundraiser for AIDS
Is that
charities.
how you earn a living?
No.
Well, what were you doing? I mean, quite frankly, the two of you don't look as if this would be a match made in heaven. I mean, it doesn't look like the kind of friendship that I would envision as resulting in a meeting at Aspen, quite frankly. I mean, what did you have in common with this lady?
We were company for a recent divorcee, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
I used to live in Aspen, and that was her first year there. So
let me ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you met her, were you outfitted as a man or a woman?
I was outfitted as a man.
And when you came to visit her and stayed in her house?
She asked us to dress up in drag and go out with her because she had remembered Kitty Cole from when I ran for mayor.
But other than dressing up and going out with her, when you were hanging around the house, were you dressed as a man or a woman?
As a man.
Okay. So when you came to court today, you decided to put on the lame.
Well, I had to show you why the other part of the case was relevant. This is other part of the case.
Well, the other part of the case, you said, had to do, in addition to the $300, there's something about tickets that she promised to get you for an AIDS function.
Right.
And that she reneged on getting you those tickets, and you laid out money for a dress.
Right.
Is that the other part of the
Yes, ma'am.
lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm unimpressed with that, but you can tell me about it.
Well, it's just because the Kitty Cole character goes to all the fundraisers and stuff like that as just sort of a, celebrity personality, whatever you want to call it. I help as many AIDS charities as I can. So in order to go to all these events, as I cannot always afford $1,000 a week tickets or $500 a week tickets, I get people to donate money to the charity. In return, I either get a ticket from the charity or they give me a ticket.
Okay. So she promised she'd get you 2 tickets, and then she said, I'm not giving you the tickets.
Correct.
So why does she owe you money for that?
She owes me money because she said, I'll get you the 2 tickets, now you have to go get something to wear to the event, and I want you to go as Kitty. and so go have something ready to wear to the event. So we...
That doesn't necessarily mean you go out and shop, get something new. Didn't you folks have anything in your closet that you could have worn?
Well, one of the things about Kitty is that I've never worn the same thing twice.
Listen, give me a break, will you please? All right, what else does she owe you?
She owes for the rental car. She has a pair. When we were at her house, we accidentally left a pair of important sunglasses to me.
Important. You said important. First you said they were Versace. She said she took them to the local Versace and they were $5 glasses that looked like Versace.
It says made in China on the side.
Well, where are the glasses?
Actually, they're in my purse.
Could I see them, please?
Absolutely.
Just a second. Stop everything. I got to see the glasses.
May I?
Are those the glasses?
Oh, yeah.
Are those the glasses, Bert?
Oh, yeah.
Could I see them,
Please. China, right here, China. Nothing by Versace is made in China. It's all made in Italy.
Well, you don't want them anyway, right?
No, I don't. I wear prescription.
Right. So, you can give these back to Mr. Cole. They're yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, she's got some gemstones that she says you have in your possession.
No, ma'am, I don't.
What about these stones that you say
I
he
gave
had?
both of you numerous.
No, don't talk to them.
Fancy
Talk to
cut.
me.
I gave them gemstones.
You gave them to them.
Well, I lent them to them.
Gave
if he
and lend
wanted
is
to
two
make a
different
ring.
things.
Cole called me and said, Sherry, I don't want these stones. I don't use colored stones. All I use are diamonds. I'm giving these back to you. I was at the Mondrian. He goes, I'm sending these back to you. I never got them back.
Yeah, where are the stones?
In her passenger side of her bed at home.
Whose passengers?
I mean, my side of the bed in her house where we stayed, I left the stones and these little things called eye beads. She said there's some precious thing that she has.
No, you returned the
so
eye
many
beads
of
to
them.
the hotel.
Listen. Are you telling me that if she opens up this drawer in her house, she's going to find those stones?
Yes, ma'am.
No, there's
and
nothing
my
in
friend
that drawer.
knows that I left them there because I didn't want them.
No.
I have no use for little colored rocks.
Okay,
and-
well,
So,
rocks,
there we go.
sapphires?
There we go. Hey!
I'm sorry.
You're claiming in your cross-complaint they owe you for spa treatments. You say you took them to some fancy place
I
when they
did.
were in Arizona. You put them up in a hotel room. They promised to pay for their own meals and spa treatments.
Right.
Did you promise to pay for your own spa treatments?
No, ma'am.
Did you have spa treatments?
Yes, ma'am.
I have the bill from the hotel.
Well, tell me what the arrangement was.
That I was going to pay for the suite. We had a beautiful, huge, gorgeous suite. It was for like 2 days so we could relax and just enjoy
Who went
ourselves.
there?
Who?
Yeah.
Me,
3 of you?
Dean, yes.
Interesting group.
And they were supposed to. Well, you know what? When he's a man, he's a totally different person.
I believe that.
I don't know this person.
I don't know this person either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of treatments did you have?
I had a mud bath and a massage.
And facial.
I think I've been in California too long.
And later today,
He's entitled to say, I'm not your mother. I'm not your fiance. I'm not your father. Borrow from somebody else in order to get me my money so I can get my car out of hock.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kitty Cole wants film producer Sherry Wyden to pay her for a dress, car rental, and a pair of sunglasses.
Did you indicate at any time that you were going to reimburse her for the spa treatments? What kind of
Never.
treatments did you have?
I had a mud bath and a massage.
And facial.
Listen, have you ever done this sort of thing before?
No, and no favor
Now,
goes
Miss
unpunished.
Wyden, I would suggest you not do it again.
I think you're
Mr.
right.
Cole, you got your sunglasses back?
Yes, ma'am.
Have a happy life.
Thank you.
Your complaint is dismissed. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Next time, choose friends more carefully. I suggest that if you take people who you never met into your home, right?
Oh, no,
Listen
no.
to me.
Okay.
You take people you never met into your home. To me, you got to be a nut to give them gemstones that mean anything to you. Anything to you. To me, if you meet somebody that you never met before, and she invites you to her home, and you rent a car for $300, how long did you stay in her house?
7 days.
And I had a
6
limousine and a
days.
chauffeur that I took them in the whole time. I didn't need their
Please,
car.
I don't know what it is with you people. I think I've been in California too long. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's just exploited every private part of my life that there ever was. That, you know, a friend, you would tell a friend, and then she goes and exploits everything about you and laughs about it, and I'm over it.
And now the next case.
Party's on Scott versus Khan. Step forward, please.
Limousine driver Larry Scott says Serena Khan smashed wine glasses and damaged his limousine the night of her bachelorette party.
You, sir, own a limousine,
Yes, ma'am.
and you were hired to take a group of young ladies out for an evening to celebrate a wedding. So this was a bachelorette party.
Correct.
You were getting married.
Yes.
A bunch of girls arranged for you to have a bachelorette party.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, sir, the bride-to-be had a really good time. Got drunk as a skunk. Did a whole bunch of things that were very unladylike that I'm sure she wouldn't like taped. But in addition, she damaged your limousine.
That's correct.
How did she do that?
Upon exiting the car, I put my hand out. She had a glass of champagne in her left hand. And as she was coming out, she more or less drug it across the bar, hitting some other champagne glasses, and broke them.
Well, so what was the damage to the limousine?
Well, she broke the glasses, and in the process of breaking the glass scratched the tinted windows, one tinted window, and it damaged the tinted window, which had to be repaired. And she told me, she said, no problem, that her fiance had a Visa card, and just billed him. A day or two passed, I called.
And she didn't pay?
She developed amnesia.
You have the bills for the repair for the limousine?
Sure.
I'd like to see them, please.
And then there was also downtime for the limousine.
What time?
Downtime. What had happened is, in the process of me taking the car in for repair, I had a run that I couldn't meet, which cost me $1,000.
So they replaced all the tinted windows. So I'm
Right.
not considering the time that your limousine was down. Should have taken it early in the morning or whatever it was. That's the damage she caused, $300.
And the glasses.
And how many glasses?
There's 3 glasses involved.
And how much were they a piece?
They're $20 a piece.
$60. Okay, Ms. Khan, let's hear you.
I told him that when he called me, he called me 4 days later, and he said, I just got my limousine out of the shop. When are you going to pay me? And I said, what are you talking about? I mean, didn't remember nothing.
Who didn't remember?
I didn't remember anything.
Well, you didn't remember anything because you were...
I was drunk.
Drunk.
I was drunk.
Why
I was
in the world...
fully intoxicated.
And your defense is your defense is, A, I don't remember.
No.
Is that right?
No.
Well, what's your defense?
Anybody, there was 3 other girls behind me from what what my witness has told me, as I'm getting out behind her, anybody could have broke the glass. I just happened to be the bride-to-be and the drunkest out of every single girl that was there.
That's what happens when you get drunk, Miss Khan. You don't remember what happened.
That's true.
I mean, because you had several defenses. Your defense is, A, I don't remember because I was drunk. B, now they say maybe it wasn't me, it was somebody else. And in your answer, you sort of intimate that that's what happens when you rent a limousine. You go out to one of these parties. You should expect that, and you should have put plastic glasses in his car.
Correct.
You are blaming everybody except yourself.
No, I offered him payments. I told him that I will.
Now
It was my bachelorette party. I offered him payments. He said no. I want all the money by next week. I'm sorry. I don't have $360 to give you, guy. Do what you got to do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Come on, girl. Come on. Let me take you now, then. Chicken.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Limousine driver Larry Scott says Serena Khan smashed wine glasses and damaged his limousine the night of her bachelorette party.
Who arranged for this limousine?
Esther Rios.
Esther Rios, would you
My
step
maid
up?
of honor.
Were you a witness to what happened?
Yes, I was.
Well, you want to tell me what you saw?
Well, my sister got out of the limo when he stopped at a local club. She was the first one to get out. And the last
Your sister isn't here.
No, she's not. But
Okay.
there were 2 other girls prior to Serena getting... Serena got out. So she broke the glasses, all three of there was two actually. It looked like there was more because there were so many of them broken. And Larry at that time said, "That's it, the party's over." And I said, "Larry," Serena kept saying, "I promise you, Larry, I'll pay him. I promise you I'll pay for the damages. Rick has a visa. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. And just please finish the run."
So you actually saw her get out of the car and damage
I did.
the car.
She was so drunk.
Right up here. Your name?
My name's Jennifer Kirtland. We started out at the bachelorette party at my apartment. Then we met the limo driver here. Esther insisted.
Slowly.
Esther insisted that we take this limo. We didn't have enough girls to fill this limo. There was no.
You were in the limo. You got into it. Nobody dragged you in there.
Okay.
Good.
Anyway, upon exiting the limo, Serena did not have a glass in her hand because I had made sure that all the glasses were back in their holders before we got out. So I know that is not true. And I'm not saying that Serena didn't do it, but usually limo companies have insurance for this kind of thing or whatever. And she didn't sign any contracts saying that, you know, she was going to be responsible for anything.
Is that are you her lawyer?
No, I'm not.
So your defense on behalf of your friend is that they should have carried insurance, drunk insurance.
No, I'm not saying that.
Drunk insurance.
I'm not saying that.
No, people are supposed to act responsibly, and if you get drunk,
you should know, Jen.
Stop! Hey, now you can sit down.
Thank you.
When people get drunk, they have to understand that if they do something that's foolish or ridiculous and it damages somebody else's property, they got to pay for it. Not an insurance company, because if he had insurance and he put it through his insurance, ultimately, in the trickle-down effect, Bird would have to pay for it. Right, Bird?
Absolutely.
In your insurance. And you don't like that because Bird doesn't even drink.
I understand that.
Do you understand? So you can't make excuses. So far from this end of the table, I've heard the excuse. How many excuses? 4? 4 that I counted?
That's 4.
4 that I counted. 4 that I counted.
You know,
Why don't you
Your
just-
Honor, Your Honor, I take responsibility for being drunk off my behind, okay? I really do, okay? But I have my maid of honor. Don't worry about it. Have a good time. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to go out. You're going to have a blast. Here's your initiation sheet. I'm right by your side. This is the one that was right by my side, okay? I offered this man payments, okay? I offered him $150 the first week of May and $150 the second week of May. And he told me, no, I want it all by next week.
Miss Khan, you think that the person, just listen to me. See, he had his car fixed, and they say to him, you don't get your car back until the bill is paid. You think that the guy would appreciate it if he said, well, I'm going to give you half of it now and half of it in June?
No, I understand that.
So, just, you know, since when did he become a partner in your misfortune? He is not a partner in your misfortune.
But how do I know that
So
the chip wasn't there before the glasses broke?
Hold on a second. Listen to what you're saying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
First you tell me that you realize it was your responsibility, it was your bachelorette party, and you called him and told him that you would pay him for the damage to his car, but you could only make it in payments.
Right.
Because you didn't have it all at one time.
Right.
Right? So far, you're almost reasonable. He's entitled to say, I don't want to accept payments because I have to pay for my car all at one time for me to get back my car. Now, I'm not your mother. I'm not your fiance. I'm not your father. I have no relationship with you at all. Borrow from somebody else in order to get me my money so I can get my car out of hock.
No.
Just a second. What do you mean no?
No.
What do you mean no?
No, because you know why? He calls up Esther and he tells Esther, tell her I'll take the payments now because I really don't want to take her to court. You know, I'm like...
Just a second. If he called your husband and your husband said, because now you're married, okay, I'll pay him.
Right.
So why didn't you just pay him?
No, we agreed to pay him $150 of payment, okay? He told his wife that, okay?
You made a $150 payment?
No, we didn't. But we agreed. My husband, that's what my husband said, that he agreed to do that. So...
What does your husband do for a living?
He's a glazer.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a receptionist.
You have children?
I have 4.
You have 4 children? With this husband?
No.
Do they live with you, your children?
Yes, they do.
You should spend your money someplace else other than having a bachelorette party and be a little more mature. A mother of 4 children who's 26 years old has already made enough mistakes in her life. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $360. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Don't talk about me, Serena. You've been doing this for 11 years that I've known you. 11 years.
At my wedding.
You. Look at this. 11 years. Yeah. Come on, girl. Come on. Let me take you now, then. Chickens.
Wedding coordinator Mary Elizabeth Plunkett claims writer Mary Erickson Downs didn't pay for her flowers. Mary Downs says she didn't get the flowers she ordered, ruining her wedding day.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Sir. Thank you. Yeah, this is case number 27 on the calendar in the matter of Plunkett versus Erickson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Erickson, you retained the plaintiff to prepare the flowers and arrange the flowers for your wedding.
Right.
So when she came to you, Miss Plunkett, did you discuss the flowers and did you discuss how much it would be?
Yes.
Did you enter into a contract?
We verbally discussed things and she gave me a deposit.
Now, the original agreement that you had with the defendant was for how much?
Between $1,000 to $1,500.
Well, whenever you deal with a vendor and you say between $1,000 and $1,500, it's been my experience that it's never $1,000, it's always $1,500. So the maximum that she was prepared to spend was $1,500, correct?
Correct.
When did you first tell her you were going over budget?
The month before the wedding.
Tell me about the conversation.
I proposed at that time that we have 4-foot magnolia topiaries
I'm not
in the dining
interested in
room.
the 4-foot magnolia. You told her it was going to be how much more money?
She spent $300 on silk ribbon.
Just a second. Did you tell her how much more it was going to cost her?
I told her that we were going over budget.
But you didn't tell her how much?
I presented her with what I had spent and asked her for an additional amount of monies, which she gave me.
Okay, and the maximum budget that she gave you was $1,500. And when you say you went over budget, you originally agreed to between $1,000 and $1,500.
With a stipulation that I have $400 to $500 flexibility.
You have
creative problem.
Just a second. With a stipulation that you had $400 or $500
creative budget margins.
That was never told to me until
well, between $1,000 and $1,500 is $500 flexibility.
That's half the budget.
So we come to the wedding, and how much have you paid so far?
I paid her up to that point $1,300 that she had to work with.
So you expected to pay her no more than how much?
$200. Plus, I wouldn't mind spending a couple hundred more because I had asked for an apple tree and that kind of thing. So I expected maybe I'd be paying $400 more.
So you expected a bill for, let's say, $1,800 to $2,000.
Correct. $1,800 was kind of the maximum I expected.
So say you expected to pay $1,800 because you asked for an apple tree, an absolute necessity at any wedding. Are you the husband? Get to the wedding, she delivers the flowers, and what happened?
An hour and a half before my wedding, she comes into my room while I'm getting my makeup on and my hair done and gives me the bouquet, which was not at all what I ordered. I wanted something inexpensive when we had discussed greens and just a few flowers, and it was like this huge, beautiful bouquet of 24 roses, and I was just shocked. And then she said, I need to talk to you privately. I've gone way over budget, and I'm really upset about this, and I don't know how to deal with it.
How much did you actually go over budget? What kind of bill did you present to her on the day of her wedding?
On the day of her wedding, I gave her a bill for a balance due of $1,422. And with that, I told her that I had given her a $500 gratuity, a generosity of my time.
An hour and a half before my wedding, she gives me a bill that totals $2,722, which the maximum I had told her that week was...
So, $2,722, listen to me, you had already given her $1,300, and you expected a bill for somewhere around $1,800.
At the most.
So this was about almost $1,000 over that.
Yeah, $1,222.
Oh, okay.
I was in shock. Plus, I was already nervous just being a bride.
I can work with anyone's budget. I notified her of that fact. That wasn't the problem. It was that last week when we had all these phone conversations back and forth, 3 or 4 a day, of additional amendments that she wanted, specific things that she had added that I was willing to comply with. And
like what? Like what additional things?
A long list.
It wasn't that long. It was a candle. It was something for our wedding candle, an apple tree.
When you called her, did you ask her how much those things would be?
Well, she told me approximately how much things were going to cost. But the thing is, I got to the wedding day, and well, for one thing, the first thing I was shocked by was my bouquet way over budget, $175.
How'd you know it was $175?
Because she gave me this receipt.
There were also many other things that we'd never asked for.
Step right here.
There were many items we never asked for. There was a bouquet at the floor at the wine and fruit and cheese table outside. There was a bouquet at the autograph book, the signature book. There were, there's a number of things marked on here that we never requested or expected to pay for.
I was shocked.
How do you know that they were never requested?
Well, I mean, my wife and I were having a conversation on this, and I have to tell you that on the day of our wedding, I had no knowledge that this was happening, that she'd been presented with this outrageous bill an hour and a half before the wedding. But at the reception afterwards, she kept coming up to me and saying, I'm so upset that the florist wants a check right now, and it's $1,700. And I was thinking, okay, it's $1,700 total. What I had no idea is that the next morning when I looked in our hotel room and I looked at this bill for $2,700, and I realized it's nearly double what we had agreed to pay for, I was outraged.
Honeymoon money, basically.
I mean, I feel like she was basically coerced into writing this check.
But you did write her a check, and then you stopped payment on it. Why don't you tell me about that?
Well, it was because I was a wreck being a bride that day. First of all, when I saw her at my ceremony, I just wanted to retch after she had presented me with this bill. So the whole ceremony, every time I saw her in her little purple outfit, I was wrecked. Then, before the first course was even served, she started wanting the check. And so throughout the reception, she kept coming up at every opportunity that I was free and asking me for the check. And I asked her at one point, can I mail this to you?
That's not true.
Yes, you did. Every time I had a free moment or wasn't dancing or talking to somebody, she was up coming to ask me, and I was telling my friends, what do I do about this florist? And several people said, I'll take care of her for you. And every time I saw her, I just didn't know what to do. I was so wrecked. Then the weird thing was, she came up to me during the reception and said, a friend of yours said she would like to take home a centerpiece. Now, I don't have a problem if you want to take home 3 or 4, but I'm intending to take the rest of those home. And I just thought I was buying these flowers.
Did you take any of the flowers home?
I transported all of the flowers home after a conversation with Mary saying she hadn't prepared any means for which to take care of them.
Just a second. I never heard of a florist taking home flowers.
She had ordered 18 arrangements. Up to the last minute, there was 18 arrangements made. I had to be prepared to do 18 tables. At that point, she called me the night before. I checked with the hotel. There were 2 changes that time which she okayed me to do, and that one, number 1 was...
I'm not interested in that. Would you kindly tell me what you were doing taking home her flowers?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
No. I don't believe you. I absolutely don't believe you. I can't tell you, unfortunately, how many weddings I've done, but never have I experienced the florist taking home the flowers.
And later today...
How much is a new motorcycle?
The older one I bought for $4 grand, and the new one I have I bought for $9 grand.
You'd have to pay me to get on a motorcycle.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wedding coordinator Mary Plunkett wants Mary Downs to pay for her wedding flowers. Mary Downs says she got the order wrong.
Miss Plunkett, to be honest with you, it sounds to me as if, because I read your complaint as well, that you made a little bit of a pest at yourself at their wedding.
This isn't true. I went to her twice during the reception.
Twice is too much. Twice is too much.
I told her I objected to giving her the flowers without payment.
Well, right now she'd been presented with a bill, and she didn't have any idea that she was going to get this kind of bill from you. She had no idea.
We had
I had no idea.
Each time we talked to her that week, I said, we are way over budget.
No, she knew this.
She knew this.
Miss Plunkett, being way over budget could be $100, could be $200, could be $300. You're a business person. And a business person is supposed to say, we are now over budget by $250. I need your approval for that.
I did that, Your Honor, and she sent me $500 additional dollars.
Yes.
And then $500 more.
So how much did she pay you all together?
$1,800.
Right. And then, right before the wedding, you called her and say, now we are way, way over budget. First, we were way over budget, then we're way, way over budget. Did you tell her how much?
I told her, because the things that she added last minute were so, like 2 days ahead of time, Your Honor.
No way. You know what she did? The night before...
And I'm outraged, quite frankly, Miss Plunkett, that you took these flowers home.
I asked Mary the night before if I was to deal with this.
No,
and she said, please
the
go
night
ahead.
before, I didn't even talk to you the night before, Elizabeth.
You called me and gave me your room number.
Just a second. Hey, Miss Plunkett, do you expect me to believe that the night before you spoke to this lady and said to her, I am going to take the flowers home and you can have them whenever you want them?
Absolutely.
You said that the night before?
I told her.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I absolutely don't believe you. I mean, I can't tell you, unfortunately, how many weddings I've done, but never have I experienced the florist taking home the flowers.
No, I asked her if she wanted me to handle with the transportation of them. She informed me that she was
Listen,
going
you
away.
got paid $1,800. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all you're going to get. Now, you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is really in the form of aggravation. If you have aggravation, then part of it is your fault. Before you enter into a contract with somebody to perform a service, you get it in writing exactly what it is. And when you have these conversations over the phone, I want a tree, I want something for my candle, and without saying exactly how much will that be, you run this risk of having a problem afterwards, and unfortunately, you run the risk of having additional aggravation on a very important day. That doesn't mean you're compensated for it. That means you're supposed to get smarter.
But am I supposed to expect somebody coming in an hour before my wedding with a $1,200 over? I mean, just that insensitivity?
Didn't you understand what I just said? Am I speaking English? When you enter into a contract for services, you're supposed to get it in writing.
Right.
All right?
Your Honor,
you were paid $1,800. That's all you're going to get.
Mr. Downs wrote me a note, and he says, you are going to eat it.
Miss Plunkett, you are a poor businesswoman.
I know.
And in addition to being a poor businesswoman, I do not buy your story about helping her out by taking the flowers home and being able...
Please ask Michael what he was there to help me. He helped me install them.
Just a second. I don't care whether he helped you install them. I've never...
I don't need them. I have no use for them.
What word don't you understand, madam?
You don't believe me.
I certainly don't. That's all. This case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, you knew my budget was $1,500, and you were supposed to inform me any time going over.
I did. And your friends say when you go to the store for light bulbs, you come out with a $300 bill. You spend a lot.
That's not true. It's absolutely not
Well, Patrick
true.
doesn't know that
you
about
did the wedding you wanted.
I'm only married to her.
And now the next case.
Parties on Burroughs versus Trogdon. Step forward, please.
25-year-old truck driver Terry Burroughs says his brother, 20-year-old salesman Brian Trogdon, owes him for an unpaid phone bill and a ruined motorcycle.
This is your brother.
Yes.
You did two things. The first one was really stupid. You gave him a telephone to use, a cell phone?
Mm-hmm.
Not smart. You said he ran up a bill of over $600.
Yes.
Bill was in your name.
Yes.
But he had the phone.
Yes.
And then you said he ruined your motorcycle that you let him use.
Yes.
Let's start with the motorcycle. Why was he using your motorcycle?
Because he had came back from Illinois. His motorcycle that he had in Illinois had been wrecked, and the insurance paid to pay off the loan. He was having troubles out there. I loaned him $200 to come back to San Diego to try and start his life over again. And I had purchased a new motorcycle, and I still had my second motorcycle. I let him use the second motorcycle, and you understand, I go, Brian, it needs some repairs on it first, and then once you get it, it's being used as collateral on the loan. I need to keep the full coverage on the insurance, and anything breaks, you fix it. And he goes, okay. And he did fix a couple things, got a new tire for it, got a new ignition for it, and then apparently he went up to L.A. when he was using the phone, and going up there, him and his friend were talking. I heard his friend talking, saying that he was racing up there doing like 90 miles an hour the whole time up there. And it's an older bike, and apparently on his way back, the engine seized. And I let him use the motorcycle just because he had nothing to use. His credit
So how much
was
did it
horrible.
cost you to have the motorcycle fixed?
The motorcycle isn't fixed yet. I do not have the money to repair it.
You have an estimate?
Yes, I do. It's a total of $1,593. $1,593.06.
How much is a new motorcycle?
It depends. The older one I bought for 4 grand, and the new one I have I bought for 9.
You'd have to pay me to get on a motorcycle. What are you laughing about?
No, absolutely.
Just
nothing.
the very thought of it makes you chuckle.
Me too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just a second, what motorcycle were you using to pick up your
I had
girlfriend?
gotten a new one.
You bought a new one?
No, my ex-girlfriend had got it for me.
Why would she get you a motorcycle?
She knew I needed transportation at the time.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Terry Burrows claims his brother, Brian Trogdon, owes him for a phone bill and a ruined motorcycle.
Okay, so now I have the estimated repairs on. You don't, sir, look at me. You don't deny that the engine on the motorcycle seized when you were driving it, is that correct?
No, it seized while I was riding on it, but,
Okay.
and then the first thing that I checked when it seized was I checked the oil, because that's the first thing, you know, and there was plenty of oil in it, so I had it taken to a motorcycle shop, and when the guy was loading it up, I asked him, I said, what can cause it? He said anything. He
Anything?
said, you know.
That's probably true.
And yeah, I admit, when I was going up to L.A., me and my friend Micah would get a burst of speed, take off for a little bit, but it's not like I did 90 miles an hour the whole way there.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
You had borrowed his motorcycle with the understanding you would take care of it while you were using it, right? Right?
Yeah.
It seized when you were using it. So you have to take care of it. Doesn't that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Your Honor?
I mean, just a second, you're winning. Why don't you be quiet? All right. Well, let's get to the phone bill. You have some sort of a defense to this phone bill. You used this phone. You ran up a bill of over $600, right? You don't deny that those were your calls. And your whole defense is that he told you that you could pay $35 a month. Is that your defense? Am I reading that right?
No. He'd called and worked out a thing with my fiance, you know, that we would pay, and then we gave him $35 the first time.
Just a second. Why didn't you pay the bill as it came due each month?
Well, because I had lost my job, because I had gotten in some trouble, so I lost my job. And
Just
that
a
was my
minute.
fault.
So if you lost your job, how many months did you have the phone when you lost your job?
I'd had it maybe a month.
Are you telling me, sir, that you used a cell phone for $600 worth in 1 month? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it was long.
No wonder you
distance
lost your
call
job. No wonder you lost your job.
I took responsibility, and I told him I'd pay him. Well, we gave him $35.
On almost a $700 bill, you gave him $35?
Because he had told me that the phone had been cut off, and his minimum payment was $50 a month. Well, I couldn't afford to give him all $50 at once, so we gave him $35 to start with, and then about a week later, like it was just after I wrecked my bike and stuff like that, well, he called my house and he asked to borrow my motorcycle helmet, and I said, well, you know, I got to pick up Valerie later tonight, and I can't let you use it. Dad's here. Dad's helmet's here. Why don't you use his? Well, he's like, well, why
Just
don't
a
you use
second.
that?
What motorcycle were you using to pick up your
I had
girlfriend?
gotten a new one.
You bought a new one?
No, I didn't get it. My ex-girlfriend had got it for me.
Your ex-girlfriend, not this lady?
No.
Your ex-girl. Why would she get you a motorcycle?
She knew I needed transportation at the time.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Listen. Who is this?
This is my wife, Charlene.
He needs a keeper. Bad news on this side. You were a nice guy. You helped him out. Don't do it again.
Never.
Do you understand?
Absolutely.
He's a user. Your defense to this whole action is your brother came and took your girlfriend's helmet. Because he took your girlfriend's helmet worth $600 and he let his wife wear it, she stretched it out. Is that your defense? Huh? Is that your defense? Get him a copy of my book. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,193. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't think he'll learn from it. He hasn't learned in the 20 years of his life about mistakes and how to correct them.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I mean, all the stuff I've done, my parents still talk to me and all kinds of stuff. My sisters still talk to me. Terry's just got to be the only person not to talk to me, and he's my only brother, so it makes me feel bad.
For destroying a designer couch after a night of heavy drinking.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Moon versus Mohan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
He invited you to a party.
Correct.
At your house.
Correct.
And I assume from your papers that this is your roommate.
Yes.
And you had a great time at the party.
Incorrect.
Well, you must have had a pretty good time at the party because you got blotto drunk, according to the papers, his complaint and your answer. You fell asleep on and then relieved yourself on his couch.
True.
Ruining the couch.
I assume so.
You want the money for the couch?
Yes.
You've paid him $1,000.
Slightly over $1,000.
How slightly?
Yeah, I haven't calculated. It's something like $1,025.
And you want more?
Yes, the remainder plus aggravation and...
Listen, everybody's aggravated. I'm aggravated. Bird's aggravated. Everybody's aggravated. But you don't want to aggravate me. That would be a very bad thing to do. So let's just talk about the couch.
Mm-hmm.
How much more do you want for the couch?
Subtracting his $1,000, it would be roughly $2,300.
Show me the bill for the couch.
I have it right here. The total being $3,139.
Let me see.
And it's right there.
So to completely redo this couch, reupholstery padding, cost you $3,100.
Correct.
You must have had a lot to drink.
I certainly did.
So now, tell me your defense to this additional $2,000.
I'm confused on a number of issues, but first of all, Gene, Alex's roommate, said it was going to cost roughly $3,000. I gave him $140 in cash, which I have a bank receipt for. I bought him a microwave oven on a credit card for $173 and some change. I did 1 day's work for him, helping him move his mother's apartment or something like that, which he said the fee would be $50 that he would deduct. And I also rented a budget truck to help him with that, which was approximately $50. And so that totaled somewhere around $400. He wanted more quickly. There was no way I could raise it. He insisted that I call my father to try and get the money from him. Gene and my father spoke over the telephone. My father said he was not going to pay $3,000. I guess Alex and my father spoke. My father said that they're being ridiculous in their demands, that he was going to handle this. Apparently, Alex agreed upon a sum of $625 because I have a check here for $625, a photocopy of a check. The note says, for John's accident, paid in full, written $130.98.
Can I see it?
You certainly can. And Alex cashed that check and signed it on the bottom, ostensibly to give to Gene. Now, I don't understand why Alex is suing me since it was Gene's property that was damaged. I further don't understand if the couch was so expensive that Gene insisted I sleep on that couch instead of the less expensive couch, which was downstairs. This couch was in Gene's room. I could explain that, Your Honor.
It doesn't make any difference because nobody, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Because nobody anticipates that a 23-year-old man is going to pee all over a couch. So it doesn't make any difference, sir, whether you slept on the upstairs couch or the downstairs couch. It's not something, we usually don't put a nappy on somebody who's 23. When his father sent you this check, did you see a notation, paid in full?
It was on the bottom of the check. It said payment for the couch, and he said to me on the phone that he wanted this to be final, and I said, sorry, sir, but it won't be because there is more money owed. And he may believe that that was the final payment, but I had warned him that it wouldn't be because it was going to incur, as you can see on the invoice, additional money.
That's not what I asked.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's not what I asked you. So what you're saying is you saw the notation on the bottom of this memo that said, for John's accident, payment in full. You saw that?
Yes.
Then you should have returned the check.
It was my responsibility to take care of this couch because it was my party and John was my guest. So that is why I had to I mean, I'm a student. I'm in graduate school right now. I'm on an extremely limited budget. Any monies that come in, I had to use towards replacing this couch, because this couch had been put on a rush order. It was a gift for Jean's mother, and John had agreed the morning of the accident that yes, indeed, he would pay for it in full, and he has.
Did you agree to that, sir?
I said I would try and pay. I said we'd have to work out some sort of installment plan because I could not raise that $3,000 that quickly.
Mr. Mohan.
Yes.
You think it's reasonable that he should be out of pocket $2,000 for your accident?
I think it's unreasonable that he. First of all.
No. Do you think it's reasonable that he should be out an additional $2,000 for your accident? Do you think it's fair?
I paid what was agreed upon. Now, if he.
Just a second.
Yes.
When was this couch purchased, sir?
This couch was purchased in August of last year, one before, and I had it reupholstered in handmade linen to give to my mother. And there's a matching chair and ottoman that goes with it that does not match the couch anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I sent him this check with a special notation. Having received and deposited the same.
Sure, let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious.
And later today.
Sir, listen to me.
Right.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him as you were passing him in the car?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alexander Moon says John Mohan, after a night of heavy drinking, seriously damaged roommate Jean Yee's designer couch.
Does your mother have the couch now?
The couch is waiting for the chair and the ottoman because after we had it redone, the batch of the linen, the new batch of linen that we got does not match now the chair and ottoman, so I have to pay out of my own pocket to match the chair and ottoman.
And then it's going to your mom?
It's going to, yeah, and then it's going to cost a little bit more, but I have not asked John Mohan to pay that. I also talked to John's father, and the reason it says paid in full is because John's father said that that is all we're going to get out of him. And the reason I insisted on John paying full amount is because it's his responsibility, not his father's. And it's also a Philip Morris couch, brand new, to replace it. That's just to refurbish it. The couch is $9,400. The chair and ottoman is close to $6,000.
God, I never owned such an expensive piece of furniture. I wouldn't let anybody even sit on it, no less
They
someone
weren't
was
allowed
drunk.
in my room. I did not insist him to be up there.
That's untrue. We were allowed in his room.
Listen,
yes.
Stop making excuses.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to refute.
Well, so let's get down to my question.
Certainly.
You think it's fair that either one of these two gentlemen should be any more out of pocket than they already are because you couldn't control your bladder?
I don't think it's fair. No.
Well, that's what's supposed to happen in a court. What's supposed to happen in a court is what's fair.
Well, first of all, I have here, my father could not be a witness today because he's in Boston. But I have here that what he told me from their conversation is that having received this check, I sent him this check with a special notation. I specifically pointed out to Alex Moon that I will not send any more money to him or anyone else, including Jean, if the $625 is cash. He agreed and cashed the check. Having received and deposited the same.
Sure, let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious. Dear son, No, there's no question that if I called his father, according to this letter, his father would say that he considered his $625 payment in full. I, however, am considering it payment in full by his father.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Because, Mr. Mohan,
Yes.
I think it is totally irresponsible of you to even question the fact that you damaged this man's property. This man's property. It's going to end up costing him far more than the additional $2,000 that he's requesting because he has to have 2 other pieces of furniture reupholstered. He's not asking to be compensated for that, although he very well could ask to be compensated for that. But it seems to me a 23-year-old man should take responsibility for what he does. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I'm still taking a loss from this. I'm still feeling the effects of, you know, something that John had done.
It severed a relationship, it strained our relationship, and I'm glad that it's finally over and we don't have to see him anymore.
Our friendship is essentially finished.
And now the next case.
Parties on Show TV a Lot versus Valentine. Step forward, please.
Loretta Shotivia-Rutt and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Who were the drivers of these 2 cars?
That would be Ramtin Mogadam.
So you can sit down. You step up here. Sit down. You were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Is your wife?
Yes.
Have a seat. Okay. Who are you?
I own the car.
But you weren't there?
No.
Okay. You were driving, according to your complaint, your girlfriend's car.
Right.
That's your girlfriend.
Right. All right.
But she doesn't own the car. It's her mother's car.
Right.
You didn't know this gentleman. You're tooling along. He's tooling along, driving with his wife.
Right.
And you get into one of those male macho things on the road. So why don't you start from the beginning and tell me where you were going and what happened, sir?
I was going back to her house and pulled up behind him at the light, and he pulled through the light, and then he pulled into the shoulder. I guess I was too close behind him, and so I passed. And then he got out behind me again, and he started flashing his lights and followed me for like a mile, flashing his lights and like staying close, like turning everywhere I turned. And so I pulled over before I got to her house because I was afraid, you know, I didn't know who it was or what was going on. So pulled over, and then he kind of like parked in front of the car like to block it. And he came out of the car and he was like, you know, swearing and stuff and threatening me. So I got out and to like calm him down because he was like right there. And
what was he saying to you, sir? When he got out of the car?
He said he was sick of like these kids driving around here thinking they're cool. And I said, I don't know, you know, I hadn't ever seen him before. And so then I like offered my hand to shake his hand, and he said he wasn't gonna shake my hand. And so I kind of said something rude, and then he came, kicked the door, and jumped in his car and took off.
And that's what this lawsuit is about, because he kicked the door of the car and there was damage to the car.
Right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Ooh, you were really angry.
I must have a big foot.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Loretta Shotivia-Rutt and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Your turn.
Your Honor, my wife and I were coming home from dinner, driving on a 2-lane road. This gentleman approached at a high rate of speed, flashed his lights, honked his horn, and went by and waved his IQ, as I wrote in my report, I believe, giving us the finger. And
so you were driving and he wanted to pass you. You weren't going fast enough. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we were doing the speed limit. I think it's 25 in the area. It's actually 30. Yeah, 25 or 35 in the area. And so when he went by and did all this, I said to myself and to my wife, I said, you know, I'm sick of this. So we followed him, flashed my lights to get him to pull over, got out of the car. We exchanged some words. My wife got out of the car with me. And
did your wife get out of the car to help you or to stop you?
Yeah, to stop him.
Miss Valentine, you don't have to answer that question. You want to know why you don't have to answer that question?
Why?
Because I already know. Right?
Right.
Because you said to him, forget it, don't do it. Right?
Right.
Men have replaced wars with road rage. And they somehow consider it an affront to their manhood. Right? If somebody cuts them off or not going fast enough or whatever. Okay. So now you're both out of the cars. And your wife got out of the car to calm you down.
Perhaps.
Oh.
Perhaps.
Hey.
Sorry. So we continued to exchange verbiage. Thinking it was all done, we returned in the vehicle to leave. At that time, he made a couple of remarks to me about being an old white man, which got me a little bit upset. Went back to the door and confronted him face to face. He's sitting in the car. And at this time, he's swinging the door open to get out, and I put my foot up to block the door, and I guess this is where $1,100 of damage took place.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him
No,
as
I
you
did
were
not.
passing him in the car?
I didn't even know why he was pulling over. I didn't even realize I was following him that closely. We were at a stoplight. We had just passed through the stoplight.
Not sure about that. In any event, how old are you?
I'm 21.
And how old are you?
49.
In retrospect, sir, this was a very foolish thing to do, right? You want to know why? Because he looks like a nice young man, 21 years old, but he could have been one of those nut jobs who has a gun in the glove compartment or a knife, and which is why your wife came running out after you. So, I mean, you took a risk. And there's one thing in taking a risk for yourself. You took a risk for her. So that was a very foolish thing to do. Let me see the estimates for the car. You have any photographs of the car?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, you were really angry. Ooh.
I must have a big foot.
What?
I must have a big foot, I guess, according to the $1,100.
Ooh, did you see these pictures?
No.
Ooh.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Valentine, bottom line is you have to pay for the damage. You can't avoid paying for the damage. You did it, and you had no right to do it, and you shouldn't have been vigilante. But I want to talk to your wife for a second. Come up here. When you started to follow, when you saw that your husband started to follow him, what did you say to him? Do you remember?
Not exactly, but probably don't bother. He's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because I didn't know it was a male in the car.
She's right.
Because he didn't even see me, and I didn't give him a finger.
Listen to me, sir.
Right.
You know, this is a good lesson for you. He's got to pay this bill. But it's a good lesson for you that if, especially if you're driving somebody else's property,
Not to pull
you're
over.
supposed to be responsible with it. Right?
Right.
Good. The estimate is $1,023 for the car. Your lawsuit requests $1,100, but you're not really requesting $1,100. You're requesting what it's going to cost to fix it, right? Mm-hmm. You got it, $1,023. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The young man was very disrespectful. I guess it was, my fault for going up there.
I just think I shouldn't have pulled over at all. I should have just lost him.
I couldn't believe that someone could act so irrational.
Be careful, there's a lot of crazies out there.